Bickley and Marana Mornings. Arizona Sports, the local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
College football is making my blood boil. All the quirkiness, traditions, the rich tapestry woven through in-state rivals, it is in danger of getting swallowed up by television networks and the pathos of greed. And the gall of industry leaders to complain about the chaos of NILs and transfer portals when conference realignment is stripping the sport of everything that makes it special. Grotesque. So, keep your fingers crossed that the remaining 9 schools in the Pac-12 are having an epiphany this morning. If they decide to stick together because what they have is worth more than money, if they decide to stick together because they are a family that has sustained over a full century, a conference that has always been an idea and a promise of something better, I will give them a standing ovation. It's also because conference realignment is so perfectly America, eliminating all the little stuff that makes something special and unique, turning it into something homogenized and boardroom approved, just so you can squeeze every last dollar from an enterprise so stiff corporate types are happy when revenue projections are shown overhead. So, what will make college football special when Washington is traveling to Maryland for a season-ending game instead of the Apple Cup? What will make college football special when the whims of a television network and panicky university presidents tear apart everything we love as football fans? I know what it would do to the Pac-12. It would make them the Pacino Conference, Pac in name only.
This story, I think, has risen, even during your blast, Bick, it has risen to the level of absurdity on how much swing there is from one side to the other.
Literally during your blast?
What happened?
The story changed again.
Well, but I came in, I went to the restroom, I came in, I was like, oh, now there's reports from the Big Ten is having a meeting this morning.
Oh, boy.
The report from Ralph Russo of the Associated Press was that no invitation had actually been sent to Oregon and Washington. Brett McMurphy, during your blast, tweeted out, the Pac-12 unable to get grant of rights signed this morning and, quote, nothing has changed as far as Oregon and Washington joining the Big Ten, sources told Action Network. Ducks and Huskies still expected to be Big Ten bound when finances are worked out, sources said. Pete Thamel, during your blast, on what he said about, there was optimism about getting the grant of rights being signed this morning by the Pac-12. He writes, sources indicating to me and Heather Dinich that the Pac-12 is unlikely to land the plane this morning and get its media right deal signed on the call today. Multiple variables at play here, including 11th hour Big Ten push for Oregon and Washington. Everything remains fluid.
So, yeah.
This is dumb.
Yeah, this is dumb, and that was my fear. My fear was the Oregon-Washington thing wasn't so much an epiphany, it was a negotiating tactic.
Yes.
That we'll come, but you're not going to lowball us like that. We're Oregon. We're the Ducks. Haven't you seen our uniform ensemble? Don't you know that ducks are the only creatures that can swim, fly, and walk?
Is that true?
No. There's other, I think there's. I think
It's
there's
good though.
I think there's other birds that can swim a little, but yeah. But in terms of actually being,
I enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you. Did you enjoy the Pacino conference?
I
Al
enjoyed
Pacino?
that too.
Pack and name only.
Here you go. I just sent you something else. Read that latest one there.
Oh boy.
Is this the one from Ross Dellinger?
Yep.
It's a roller coaster. Minutes before Pac-12 president's meeting was scheduled to begin, Oregon officials expressed further concerns about the Apple deal. Sources tell Yahoo Sports, Pac-12 now not expected to sign grant of rights this morning. And as he pointed out, too, Ralph D. Russo of the AP reported a Big Ten meeting later.
So you know what it looks like to me? And props to Arizona for willing to not go to the Big 12 if indeed Oregon and Washington stayed put. Isn't that the way it looks to you?
Yeah, it's like an unhappy spouse who, all right, you know what? We're going to go to counseling before we call this thing off. They've been very. I gotta give Arizona credit.
So
they've
do I.
been very mature and very patient in this whole thing.
Well,
yes,
I was always
very concerned of ASU.
Yes,
I was always fascinated with Colorado first doing it, and then potentially Arizona State, making all these moves before Oregon and Washington decided what they were doing. Because to me, they're much more the linchpin to the conference than Colorado or Arizona.
Absolutely.
So the fact that they were abandoning the conference before they decided what Washington and Oregon was doing always seemed weird. And now that's what seems to be what's holding us up.
This is of a much different nature, but talking about the way this story is developing and then devolving and developing again, it's a similar feel to what we were going through in March of 2020 when every 2 seconds Jarrett was hitting the breaking news sounder and something else had
was
changed.
being canceled. And
I mean, this is much not as serious, obviously, but I can't. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 6 minutes. We've gone from throwing dirt on the coffin to, hey, they're back. And now there's dirt on the coffin again.
That's a shame because I was really, really starting to vibe on this idea that the Pac-9 were having this epiphany that you talked about. If we get 20 years down the road, are we going to look back and go, what idiots we were?
Hey, there were 6 minutes between the middle of the Pat Forty interview and the Bickley Blast that a Pac-12 ACC merger looked like it was going to happen.
Yes.
That was like several outlets reporting that.
I read last night from a very good source that the Big Ten's end game is to attract 4 more schools. Oregon and Washington are 2 of them. They do not want Stahl and Canford.
I wouldn't want those either.
Skolder and Mully. Mulder and Scully.
That's right, exactly. They do not want Cal and Stanford. They want to eventually poach Miami and Virginia.
See, that's a big piece to me. Everyone's talking about Florida State leaving for the SEC. Miami, I know they haven't done a lot in the last 20 years, but that is a big-time program with a big-time history in a big market.
Yeah.
That I'm surprised that they're not more coveted.
But again, I think the market size thing gets blown out of
Of
whack
course.
in all of this.
But they have a national fan base. Let me put it that way. They have a national fan base, Miami.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there was a once famous argument that happened on the airwaves of this radio station about the brand and the reach of the then Oakland Raiders.
You want to go?
I think Miami's kind of the example you could plug in from a college. What what is the reach and the brand of the Miami Hurricanes? Once great.
But it's exactly like the Raiders.
Yes.
You're exactly right. There's a bad boy image to the Hurricanes that is of certain value.
You want to go?
Well, just look at much like Texas and a little bit Nebraska. Every year, the preseason polls always are desperate to try to make Miami relevant again by putting them. They're always ranked high to start the year. Them, Tennessee, Texas, and then by the end of the year, they fall off. I don't know.
The way this is honestly playing on my anxiety and emotions. Like, I'm all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, listen, me too.
During the last commercial break, I'm like, all right, who can the Pac-12 add? San Diego State? They going for Boise? Do they add the Vegas market to the mix? What's happening with an ACC agreement / merger? And now you're like, okay, get excited for a trip every 2 years to Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah.
Waco.
Oh, boy.
Lovely in the fall.
Yeah, listen. So, seriously, last night it felt, when we all went to bed last night, depending on when you went to bed, we all kind of felt, all right, Arizona's gone.
Yeah.
They're gone. And ASU and Utah, they might be gone too, but they were never on the same timeline as Arizona, ever, right? So that's, and we thought last night that the last rites were going to be administered to this conference sometime today. Mm-hmm. Then we had this moment of hope, and I'm really like, I can't believe that maybe Michael Crow is the actual voice of reason in all of this, that he's actually presenting and unifying people to focus on what we should stand for. That let's not get in this, let's not be part of this movement where television networks kill college football. Or at least how we know college football, what we value about college football. Because that's what's happening. College football is going to exist, but it isn't going to be what it was.
No, and look at all the possibilities from the ASU standpoint. Now, as it certainly appears that a splintering of the Pac-12 is going to happen, but that doesn't guarantee that ASU goes to the Big 12. We don't have much in terms of concrete reaction or statements or attitudes of anything that happened at the Arizona Board of Regents meeting last night. The meeting happened. That's about it. There's been reports about, is Michael Crow being dragged toward the finish line to join the Big 12? He might say, all right, Arizona's going, Oregon's going, Washington's going. We're going to be the centerpiece of this new Pacific whatever conference. It might happen. Anything is possible right now.
Right. And I think I do believe that Michael Crow would prefer that, to be honest with you. But at the same time, then if that whatever that conference looks like, if that conference does not qualify for an automatic bid, then now you've lost your fan base entirely.
Yes, and I know what the recommendation from the Board of Regents is as well. Hey, keep these schools together. Michael Crow's a powerful guy. You think he wants to be told what to do by a group of regents?
No, and again, and I understand this too, because Michael Crow has really built something really special at ASU, academically.
Yes. And in terms of,
footprint,
campus growth, footprint, it's enormous what he's done.
It's unbelievable what he's done. But he's always rejected the gigantism. It's a great word that Pat Forty dropped on us, that college football has become.
Yes, but it's also frustrating for Sun Devils because you see what Michael Crow has done in terms of footprint and academic stature for ASU. The same could be going on simultaneously in athletics, and it's not.
And I do think that as of early this morning, because I saw it, there was a rising tide of anger towards Michael Crow, because the reports that he was still, I don't know what, because when you go to join a new conference, you really want. But here's the other thing too. I want to make this point real quick. What school has left a power conference, gone to another power conference, and had it improve their football product? Now, they've gotten rich, but what school has left a Power 5 to another Power 5 and actually had the move work for them competitively? Doesn't work for Nebraska.
No.
Probably is not going to work for Texas and Oklahoma. They had a much cleaner path to the college football playoff in the Big 12 than they do now.
Yes, they did. But that also shows you the priority.
Exactly.
Dollars over titles.
The pathos of greed.